Hey guys, it's Lish from Devalishangell. Today I'm going to show you how to make this super cute hand top out of two pairs of jeans. It's one of my favorite upcycles. So I'm going to use these two pairs of jeans to make this top. These jeans are slightly stretchy. I prefer stretchy jeans, that way the sleeve part is way more comfortable versus using a pair of stiff jeans. For the sleeve part, I'm going to measure how long I want the sleeve, and then I'm going to measure these three parts of my arm. When I measure those parts of my arm, I'm going to leave some space, that way the sleeve isn't super tight. And then whatever measurement I get, I'm just going to divide that by 2. So then I'm just going to take my washable marker and mark where those measurements are. So then I'm going to do the other 2 and then kind of pin down that side to connect the dots so I know where to cut it. But can we talk about these inches real quick? Because look at how cute my hair looked. So once the sleeves are pinned, I'm just going to try it on and make sure that it's a good fit for my arm and it's not too tight. And I'm also making sure I like the length. If everything looks good, then I'm going to go ahead and cut where I have marked it. Sometimes I like to leave this little part here kind of angled out. That way when I attach it to the body part, I can kind of move my arm more easily. Here I'm just tracing my one sleeve onto my other pair of jeans. That way I can have one in each color. Then I'm going to cut that one out as well and pin it along the side. And now I have my 2 little sleeves. And now pretty much I'm just going to try them on and make sure that I can bend my elbow, they're not too tight. And once that looks good, I'm just going to sew down the 2 sides of the sleeve. Only the side of it, that's it. You don't need a serger for this part. You can always just use a regular sewing machine and use a straight or hem stitch. I do like to put some extra reinforcement at the beginning of the stitch and at the end. That way the seams don't come open at all because I sewed it on my serger. So I want to make sure that I do go over it with like a straight stitch and back stitch. That way that stitch is not coming undone at all. So for the front part of the top, I literally just traced my hand. I am making the wrist part a little wider just because my wrist is very tiny and I'm just going around my fingers kind of getting the shapes of the knuckles. I do recommend kind of making your hand like a more like a cup because my fingers are kind of straight and just super spread out. So yeah, I do recommend spreading out your fingers but kind of doing it like a cup because this part of the top literally is just cupping your breast, so it is important to get the right hand shape fit, if that makes sense at all. But once I have what I think is the right hand, I'm just going to cut out the hand. It can be a little tedious and detailed, so I'm using these small scissors to help. So I'm just going to lay it on my body and see how it fits. If you have long fingers, just know that you don't want super long fingers on this top because you want to make sure that it covers what it needs to cover, you feel me? But yeah, I thought the hand fit good and it covered everything I needed to, so I'm just going to use this for my pattern for both of the sides. Since this is denim, all around the hand will fray, so I like to make it 2 layers and sew all around the 2 layers. That way it helps to keep it from fraying. So here I'm just pinning on my hand onto the same color pair of jeans and just pinning it all around and cutting out a second layer, and I would do this for both colors. So now I have 4 hands cut out, 2 in each color, and I have them pinned together, so I'm just going to sew around the hand. So I use the white thread for the light color and dark thread for the dark color, obviously, and I'm just using a straight stitch and going all around it. You will need to pick up your presser foot a lot for all these little twists and turns and getting into the fingers. As you can see from this video, I'm lifting up my presser foot constantly. So I'm just going to trim off this little extra part that was hanging off the edge. Now it's time to cut out the final piece of the top, which is this back piece. So this goes on your back, and I like to have the back lace up as well. Pretty much here I'm just putting the hand on my body and I'm tracing out the side of my body because that's where I want the seam for the hand connecting to the back piece to be. So then I'm just measuring from that middle part of my side how far I want that back piece to go on my back. So it was about 4.5 inches, I believe. But I do add an inch to that for seam allowance, and plus I like to fold over the back part to add the grommets, so I am adding an inch to that measurement. So here I'm just trimming that excess fabric because I do want that seam to be to sit on the middle of my side. So here again is what that back piece looks like. I fold over the edge and put the grommets on. Here I'm just freehand drawing what I want that back piece to look like, but you're pretty much just making a little rectangle. I am sort of making that left side of it a bit bigger. That way I have more room to put the grommets on, but I just made it slightly bigger. And that way it looks more similar to a wrist instead of a weird shaped straight arm. So now I'm just gonna cut this part out, and I do cut 2 of these as well for each color. So once you have one color done, make sure you flip it and cut it out in the other color, and again you're cutting 2. Next I pinned the 2 layers together and I sewed these 3 sides of it, and I'm just using a regular straight stitch for this. With all straight stitches, make sure you backstitch in the beginning and at the end. So once those 3 sides are sewn, I'm just going to pin it to the hand part and then connect that back piece to the hand part, and I'm just using a straight stitch for this as well. So as you can see here, the edges didn't really line up exactly, so I'm just gonna trim those 2 edges so that it looks better. And I'm also going to lay this back part flat and then sew a straight stitch on top of it. That way it lays nice and flat inside the top and it's not like itching your sides. So for the very back part of the hand shape, I'm just going to fold over about a little more than a half an inch, but less than an inch. And then this is going to be the part for the grommets, so I like it to be very thick. But just be careful because denim is very, very thick and you don't want to break your needle, so make sure you definitely have a thicker denim needle. Make sure to sew the really thick parts slowly, and if it's too thick for your machine, you can always just do 1 layer instead of 2 like how I did. So I'm going to do the same for the other side, and then I'm going to take my grommet kit and add the grommets to the finger parts and the back part. So with the washable marker, I'm just making marks at where I want all the grommets to be. That way I can make sure they're even. Make sure that you don't do the ones on the fingers too close to the edge, because if it gets pulled too hard, it can rip through the fabric. So make sure you give a decent amount of distance from the edge of the finger or the tip of the finger. So I then use my scissors and my seam ripper to make the tiniest little hole where all the little dots are. You want it just big enough so that the grommet will fit through there. The grommet kits come with instructions that are super easy to follow, but pretty much you're just going to put a grommet onto the little circle tool, put your fabric on top, and then add one of the little circle thingies on top and just hammer it on with the tool. I put a sock on top of the tool before I hammer it, just so it's not as loud and so my neighbors don't hate me. The back part of the top is way thicker since it's 4 layers instead of 2, so I had to kind of have to make a slightly bigger hole and squeeze it onto the tool, but I did get it done. So the last step is to attach the sleeves to the hand part. So here I'm just matching up the sleeves, then I'm placing a pin on each side of the seam, and I'm going to sew it in like a U shape with a straight stitch. As always, when doing a straight stitch, make sure you backstitch in the beginning and at the end. And again, I'm just doing like a U shape around where I pinned at. So this was the final result. I love me some cute, unique, different tops, and this is definitely all that. I hope you guys like this upcycle tutorial. If you have any questions, just comment them down below. You can always follow me on Instagram at Devalishangell to see more of my work, and I do offer one-on-one sewing classes. Thanks again for watching.